Hello, my name is John Nelson. I am the Executive Director of the Vermont School Boards Association. In the next few minutes, I will describe the impact on local school districts of three pieces of legislation enacted during the 2010 session of the Vermont General Assembly. Second, we will look at revised statutory duties for all supervisory unions beginning in 2012. Parts 2 and 3 of this presentation are applicable to all school districts and supervisory unions in Vermont, not only those that pursue a school district merger. Supervisory unions have long been empowered to form agreements with other SUs or school districts to provide services, programs, or facilities. Act 153 further encourages this practice by qualifying SUs that enter into joint agreements for reimbursements of up to $10,000 for legal and consulting costs associated with forming the joint agreements. In order to be eligible for the reimbursement, the SU must produce a cost-benefit analysis that demonstrates expected financial benefits or enhanced outcomes from the joint agreement. Beginning July 1, 2012, all supervisory unions will operate under newly defined legal responsibilities. In order to clearly explain how SU duties have been redefined, each of the next several slides is formatted by crossing out the current law that has been amended and by underlying new provisions of law that replace the current ones. Each SU must have an SU-wide curriculum by 2012. Each school and district will retain latitude to implement the curriculum as appropriate. However, all districts within the SU will have a common set of standards with regard to grade level expectations and scope and sequence. SUs will be required to provide professional development for all staff. Current law requires the SU only to establish a professional development policy. The SU will be permitted to provide specialized professional development programs to various subsets of educators as appropriate. The SU will provide special education services and compensatory and remedial services on behalf of member districts. This includes the employment of special education personnel at the SU level, with the SU having the ability to deploy staff to member districts and schools on an as-needed basis. SUs may apply to the Commissioner of Education for a waiver from this provision, but the waiver must demonstrate that these services can be provided more efficiently and effectively at the district level. Note that an individual district cannot apply for a waiver. It must come from the SU board. SUs will be required to provide financial and student data management services for member districts. They will also be required to provide the following, although an SU may apply for a waiver similar to the waiver option for special education services. Management of procurement and distribution of supplies. Management of construction cost. Collective bargaining negotiations will be the responsibility of SUs, although contract terms may still vary by district as is currently the case, and each district board will retain the authority to ratify employment contracts for its employees. Finally, transportation and human resources management on behalf of member districts will also become duties of supervisory unions. Also on July 1, 2012, some statutory duties of superintendents will change. Superintendents will have the authority to hire non-licensed staff and the authority to dismiss any staff member subject to contractual or legal due process and non-discrimination requirements. With regard to licensed personnel, including educators and building administrators, the superintendent will nominate single candidates for board approval. If a nominee is rejected by the board, the superintendent will bring forward another candidate. This statutory change does not mean that local processes leading to employment decisions are prohibited, such as the use of screening or search committees. It does mean that the superintendent will make the decision as to which candidate should be brought before the board for approval. Superintendents will also be responsible for assisting their member districts in implementing class size policies. By January 15, 2011, each school district and supervisor union must adopt policies that specify minimum and optimal student classroom populations. These policies can and should be planning tools and therefore advisory in nature. They may contain different standards for specific grade levels and course subjects. The Department of Education will be developing model class size policies to assist boards in meeting this requirement. The last part of this presentation will look at public education's so-called challenge for change, including voluntary spending reduction targets.